This is about being a welcomed guest and extended family member at the Patton's house. It's called Treetops, and that dwelling on a hill where welcome is not a mere concept at the front door, but rather an imperative. It's a state of mind, it's an environment of artful grace, and it's got a lot of blue-eyed wonder to it. It is a haven for social justice. And it is wrapped also in an easy humor. This is also about being up high and seeing the theater from above, a world view, or up in limbs stringing lights to illuminate a winter tree for the general enjoyment of the populace in the valley below, or from a catwalk lighting grid. And now from up on stars, perhaps, dancing within the music of the spheres. The Bill Patton welcome at home or on the bricks or in a business meeting is an eager adjective, for one is received gladly and generously, accepted or anticipated with delight. And for those of us who are gifted with that reception for 50 years or more, it's an invitation that is local, national, and international. The Bill and Shirley welcome, which is present tense, models the finest examples of friendship and parenthood, and it gives us all a curriculum for being a better citizen of the planet. Gisela from Germany can attest to it, as can Laurence from Belgium, Naoko from Japan, Pia from Switzerland. I myself know it, having traveled in the 70s to this mysterious realm of Oregon from exotic San Francisco. There are also so many amongst us here and those who could not attend today, but we do find such comfort in the concentric circle, the reverberation, that echo, the warmth of knowing Bill and his depth of kindness, his intuition, and his daring. This great family opens the door to we, the wayward, with interest and with wonder. And in a really brave reverse exchange, giving of their family as well, when they allowed their own daughter to venture into the wilds of revolutionary El Salvador, at a time when to have stayed home would have been easier. But you see, to believe that she'd be back soon was the faithful way to proceed. No matter how far you travel, the light at the Patton door and the light in their eyes let you know that when you return, you are home. And that's the kind of agreement that we also have in the theater, to go out on those boards and to dream a brave new world alive every 8 weeks or so. And that's what Bill did. It was always an ordinary adventure to do something marvelous. Well, of course friendships should be forged and business should be a pleasure, so that America might have one of its premier theaters stand up to national recognition. Why wouldn't one gallop forth and manifest such a quest? And really, shouldn't the dream be made manifest? Of course it should. Life should be beautiful. Life should be a welcome. To be with this family is picnics upon porches and the lawns of parks. It's joyous anticipation in lobbies of theaters across America. It's standing arm in arm at peace rallies. And it's finding one another on stage. It shifts a bit now, that's true. But perhaps we theater folk know best of all the agreement of something beautiful rotating in and out of repertory. This threshold, this bardo, this mystery, and in the case of our friend Bill, making such an impact, leaving such a roadmap to follow, that it might be said that none of us would be quite right here today, forging decades of friendships, colleagues, marriages, children, had it not been for the whimsical teacher, Angus, recognizing that bright man, that light man, this particular Bill. Now, one of the dearest things about sharing in a meal as extended family in the dining room at Treetops is the stories that are shared. A particular delight would be when Bill, just in from hours of tending to the remarkable garden, would unfold stories from his youth, of his adventures in the theater with a certain innocence and wonder that such things could even really happen. And here are two brief examples of his memories for the extended family of theater folk who also feel his kinship. For you know him as a shining example of theater management, and today you've learned from his grandchildren that before helping to win a Tony Award in his 60s, Mr. Patton, circa age 10, was a puppeteer of great note in the Valley. For as it turned out, Medford was lacking a well-conceived marionette repertory. But our chap, on a parallel path to Angus, though separated by 11 long miles, was there to provide that particular programming. Now, Bill moved on to technical theater in his much later years, the teen years. So, he was in the darkened high school theater after classes one day because he said, I like to just be alone in there. And even though he wasn't really supposed to be, and the joy of it would be often dampened by his teacher coming in and saying, Bill Patton, your mother is looking for you, and she's certain that you are here. He would wander around backstage inspecting things, and he noticed that a rope was incorrectly tied on the pin rail, so he endeavored to undo it, to retie it. But what he didn't realize was that this rope was attached to a huge and extremely heavy movie screen, which could be lowered, and so by the time the knot was unloosened, our dear friend went flying into the air at an astonishing rate as the screen crashed to the ground, like Flynn or Keaton or Chaplin, coming within inches of the sharp gears in the flies and burning his hands terribly upon the rope. At that very moment, the teacher appeared. Who's in here? Is that you, Bill Patton? And still hanging on, an angelic voice from above chirped, yes. This is by way to set up story number 2, which was in college. He was returning to Stanford, and once again, being alone backstage at the theater, needed to check on lighting instruments in the grid. And he climbed up to the catwalk on the greatly interesting, he said, ladder on the back wall of the theater, one of those round metal cage-like contraptions that went from below the stage up into the highest rigging. And when he got to the top, he reached for 2 cables, one on his left, one on his right, to steady himself, which, unbeknownst to him, were somehow touching an open electrical current. He grasped, and that was that. He knew instantly, both scientifically and, well, actually, that he had in excess of 120 running through him, and he could not let go, he said, because his hands were electrified. I had completed the circuit, he mused. He yelled for help, and eventually a janitor arrived and asked what was the matter. Our friend, the lightning bug, explained, and begged for him to find the circuit and throw the switch, and the janitor quickly assessed that the only way around this was to run outdoors, go into the manhole cover where all the main electrical generators were, and take down the whole building. He dashed to do so while Bill stayed up in the theatrical heavens, feeling the currents running through him. With a great boom, the building was disconnected, and through the power of the muses, who had further work for him, 6 more decades, to be precise, William Weston Patton was discharged from this conundrum, his body thrown back down the steel cage ladder, which aided in him avoiding a full plummet down, down, down into the trapdoor world commonly known as below stage, completing the circuit. An apt image for a day like this one, celebrating a life like this one. Bill Patton, the manager, the executive, the parent, never stopped doing just that, completing the circuit. For all of us, the extended family, millions of audience, tens of thousands of artists who will tell you that they spent their salad days here in a place of impossible excellence, improbable location, and exceptional consensus. And we cherish the memories, the stories, the advice, the harvests. And now we must also promise to model the glorious example. Ah, lucky heaven. You have a new producer up in your cloud. Oh, greener pastures you have. You shall now sport even grander gardens. Hey, Deus ex machina, are the gears of Great Spirit. We prophesy that you shall have daily puppet shows in your store windows. Oh, theater paradise, get ready. For you have one of the earth's best teachers to show you how to obtain and retain an artful campus, and these temples shall sprout up in the curves of your beautiful mountains. O holy slumberland, the keeper of our friend, the great globe itself shall wink up at you and say, "But gracious sir, here is your son again. And we must lose one of the sweetest companions in the world. The benediction of these covering heavens fall on his head like dew, for he is worthy to inlay heaven with stars."